Hey, welcome back to See the Wood Turn. Still in the process of setting up the shop here, but as you can see, I have been playing around. I got some rough turn blanks down there going. What I'm working on today is setting up the duplicator on this other lathe here. I think I talked about in an earlier video. I'm putting it on the back side, and that way I can still use the tool and tool rest to do any other work on the piece and not have to remove and reinstall the duplicator all the time. Because it takes a bit to set up. You want it good and true, running parallel to your stock and your center points. So that's what I'm working on now. Once this is set up, it'll stay here, and I'll be using this for obviously more spindle type stuff. But the duplicator will be permanently on here. One of the issues I was having originally when I put it on, actually you can see it's not bolted down yet either, it's just sitting here. I'm just starting to get it set up. But when you run this all the way down to this end, you would get down here, and your blade, when you put it on the back side of your lathe, is on the left side of this duplicator. Now this is not a professional duplicator. It is the Vega, but it's not the professional version. But it works very well. And what happens is when you get all the way down here, your blade would stop way back here. So when your chuck was mounted directly to your headstock here, you'd have a lot of waste wood. So I got this adapter in here, and that brings it out, so you're not gonna have as much waste. Now I've just literally put this on here, so I'm just curious, and I still got to move this down. I got room to move this down. In fact, let me go ahead and do that and see how close we get that now. Well, I quickly see right away now there'll be no more waste wood. I still have room to go if I wanted to. You can see in between here, but my blade is already at my chuck. So there's no need to go any further. In fact, I could bring it back some. So you can see before, if I was at the end and if I took up all that space, my blade only would have stopped here. So it had all this waste wood sticking out of the chuck, and it just been a waste. You would have to cut all of your blanks, 4 or 5 inches longer than you really need, just so you could make your piece, and you're throwing away a good amount every time. So I've already checked this out. This is like a $55 piece here, but I checked it out. It's running very true, so that is excellent. So there'll be no issues there. So I got to go ahead and get this thing bolted down, but now I can see I'll be able to turn right up to the edge here and not have any waste. Although you're always going to leave a little bit of waste here, but much better than the whole thing. So that's what I'm in the process of doing today, slowly getting this shop set up. My brother's been working on his lathe a little bit. He's got a few bowls he's turned down there as well. All right, and to set this up, I've got it snugged up here just a little bit, and I've got a center put in my headstock, and I have a center in my tailstock. And I got them as far apart as I can with the duplicator on, and I'm just going to be lining up my cutting head right to the center as close as I possibly can, and then run this down and set it up on this end as close to that center as I possibly can, and then I'll tighten that stuff up. Tighten this down really good. By doing that, by going over the full distance, you're going to get as accurate as you possibly can. If you do it over a short distance and you're off a little bit, the longer distance you go to pull back on your tailstock to do a longer spindle piece, then that could magnify how far you're off. So putting them as far apart as you possibly can and putting that cutting head right at the center, which I still got to do some adjustments here. I just stuck it on here really quick just to show you what I'm doing. Then we'll remove this out of here and put the chuck back on. But this gives me a pinpoint center on both ends to line the cutting head up. So I got this side lined up pretty nice. I got the 2 points just about perfect. A little bit off, but we're getting there. What I'm going to do is show you now, if I would have taken crank this down the other end, you can see we are way off, way past center. So what I'll do is I'm going to take this side and just slide it out some, and we'll get it close to center here. Just kind of give you an example. I'll do this with the camera off, but so I can have two hands. But let's just get this close. That's pretty close. Now, important thing to check is to go back to the other end, because your pivot point is beyond this right there. So by pulling that other end out, you can pull this out ever so slightly. This will give you a good example. I only moved a little bit. But if we take a look, we are definitely not lined up anymore. That means this side would have to go in a bit. That's what you can do. I know people measure off the bed to the feet and all this, but then you get all these adjustments here. The best thing to do is get everything snugged up and then just bring your points to center. I got this thing set up pretty good. Now, I will tell you, I went back probably 4 or 5 times because just the slightest adjustment, you know, on this end here is going to bring that tip out, not that tip, but the tip on the duplicator out away from that tip just ever so slightly, and vice versa. So take your time, put the time in, use pointed centers so you can get as accurate as possible and get it lined up properly. So now you can see that is just about right, perfect. And then we're going to go ahead and run this down the other end. Hopefully I got it nice and tight and it's not going to be off on me and make a fool out of me. And you can see there it is right there, just about perfect. There you have it. So that's setting up a Vega duplicator, and that's being set up on the Delta 1440. It'll just be used for spindle stuff, rolling pins, things of that nature, candlesticks, you know, things like that. If we're doing bigger stuff, we'll be right over here on the Grizzly 766. So this is a giant 14-inch bowl here I'm working on. But anyway, thanks for swinging by. See the wood turn and watch as this shop progresses. We got more lathes coming in for different purposes, and we'll show you as we get set up. So I still got to paint the rest of the floor and do lots of little bits, things here and there. And this cabinet thing here is coming out. We're going to have a different sharpening station. Anyway, yeah, lots of updates. So stay tuned, come back, check it out, and we'll see you next time. One last thing, or two last things I forgot to mention. The purpose of doing this is so I can have my tool rest here, and I can come back over here with my regular tools and do any other stuff to the piece I'm working on, but yet not have to mess with the duplicator. And keep in mind, this lathe does not have reverse, so we'll be flipping this cutter head upside down. So we got to make sure we make adjustments to the height of it as well, so it's cutting in the proper location. But that'll probably be for another video. But yes, it's important. This will not stay like this. But now I have access to my tool rest, and I can swing around the backside and use the duplicator and have the best of both worlds and not have to remove it for any reason, because like I said, big stuff will be done over here.